We brought on consultants to help us specifically do sort of an equity audit and understand where we were organizationally and where we needed to go. And that's what really launched the journey that we've been on since then. We call our internal group the Implementation Committee, and the goal is for that committee to really represent all the various cross sections of our staff, having people at various sort of levels in the organizational hierarchy.
Our executive director has always been interested in listening. I think she's very good at that. And so she sat on it along with other management team who have just been very involved in our DI work or very caring of that work. We're learning the different aspects of identity and how intersectional identities affect people. And I think we've really built the space in the implementation committee where we value different perspectives. It was just so healing and helpful to hear from other people who are in the same situations, who are trying to do similar work. I just always came away with it being wow, there's other people doing this. We're not alone.
There was a particular kind of assignment that we had to kind of name our personal why we were doing this work in general. And I think for me personally, being pushed to kind of create that narrative for myself and really look inside, because I think sometimes people in this work are often speaking very generally or community about the work that we're doing, and there's this greater collective or greater vision that we're working toward. And it really helped me kind of center back into the work that we were doing by having to look at myself and really think about why I was doing it.
I was just always knew that it had an ending. And so it was this is gonna stop. And so a part of me was I don't want to rely too much on this support because I know that it's gonna end and that we do need to stand on our own and be able to drive the change and do work in our organization without that additional support.
One of the biggest things that I have seen change is kind of the conversations that are happening. I think everyone is thinking about equity in everything they're doing. Obviously, there's still gaps and holes that we need to fill, but we get a lot of feedback or conversation. A lot of times in meetings, there's just a mention of hey, let's think about this equity issue. And I think that's a big stumbling block for a lot of organizations and communities, is that there isn't that conversation and there isn't that awareness until you're asked to do it. And I would say that's probably the biggest thing I've seen and something that drives a lot of those other things to happen.
We did a lot of work around our hiring to make sure our hiring processes were more equitable. And we have a whole sort of guide to hiring now to make sure that also there's consistency when we do hiring. So a lot of work went into that. And then we have brought on a director of people and culture just last month. And that was coming out of a lot of conversation about how we really didn't have a dedicated HR person. So that's been a really exciting development for us.
Just continuing to see how those task committees, the affinity groups, the implementation committee, our new director of people and culture, our new structure, how it all works together, and just keeping it in our minds that we also need to look at this with an equity lens and use these tools that we've learned.